Well, hi guys, and here we are. The countdown continues. We've got just over, well, I think, just less than 2 weeks now, and then the big event, and we'll see if it is going to be a big event. But first of all, hello to you guys. How are you doing, Bill, Phil, and Callista?
Hi, Will. Hi, Phil. Hi, Bill.
Hi,
Hi.
all. It's good in Texas.
It's good here in
Good.
Cali.
Well, then I'm the one that can complain because it's 15 below here, or
No
about
way.
-5 on the Fahrenheit scale for you guys, and cold. And welcome to Canada, the Great White North. My God.
Oh, that sucks, Bill. I mean, Will,
Yeah,
sorry.
well,
I didn't
that's
I
good.
didn't think
No,
I didn't yeah. Wow. 5 below.
no, it's an
Well,
early bit of winter.
look on the bright side. You don't have to worry about getting sunburned.
Well, there is that. I just worry about frostbite. But no sunburn. That's true enough. But it's
Well,
been quite active up here, so I've had to carry on despite the cold weather. Excuse me. You were saying, Callista?
well, it's nice here because it's springtime and there's baby rabbits and there's baby ducks and there's baby birds everywhere and baby kangaroos and all the trees and bushes are blooming. So there's bits of white, flowery bits of stuff that look like very fine cotton wool floating through the air everywhere and giving me hay fever. But it's just like floating through the air everywhere, just like the Biden emails. They're just everywhere.
It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, we all press on. That's the point, isn't it? And heck, with the events that have been kind of happening over the last few days, especially, and we'll start with our discussion with this today, the Biden expose, the Hunter Biden, the laptop, and all of that, and how the FBI have come forward and said it's not Russian interference and it's authentic and all that kind of stuff. So it really looks like things are being blown apart here for Hunter Biden and, of course, by implication, to Joe Biden, especially after he said, I never talked to him about his work and all that. And then they released all the pictures and everything. So either you guys want to say anything, or you, Callista, have you got anything to point out?
Well, yeah, I had something just 2 seconds ago and it's gone now. Sorry. Yeah, it's a problem for them, and it's not only because Joe Biden said that he didn't talk to Hunter about his business dealings, but also the fact that, according to the emails and other documents that have come forward, Joe Biden was getting the lion's share of every takings that Hunter Biden was bringing in. So obviously, we're dealing here with a family of people who behave in a very different way from most of society, and this is the elites. They have this business network and a certain way of dealing with their children and grandchildren, and I think we all know what we mean there. To keep them in line and to keep them, providing energy for the family motor, the family engine. And I was listening to Steve Bannon the other day, and what he said was true. He said, how can any caring parent who knows their child has a drug addiction problem keep on putting pressure on them to bring more and more money into the family coffers? Because it's putting more and more pressure on this person, Hunter, to perform, and because of the pressure, he's sinking deeper and deeper into the addiction. And in a sense, as Bannon said, it's not really about Hunter Biden; it's about Joe Biden and the whole Biden machine.
Well, that's interesting because I actually listened to Sky News Australia here, and the lady, I forgot her name now, she was interviewing Bannon, and he was saying some of those. He didn't say what you just said, but he really laid it out what's happened to how Biden, Joe, has, gotten himself in over his head, really. And what that really implies is that, as you just said, excuse me, he uses his own family, and he's got to get the 10% right off the top, and so that was very revealing. And now you're saying some very interesting points about how there's actually, if you want to say it this way, a gross abuse of the children. And
Yeah,
that's
the
only
children and the grandchildren, and also there's been some really strange happenings in that family over the years with the death of Beau and Biden's first wife and child and all that sort of thing. I don't know very much about that, but it just seems to me that there's a lot of karmic activity happening there.
I agree with you on that one. How about you guys? Thoughts here?
Well, there's a lot of chatter about the FBI in relation to that, making the FBI look really bad because they've been sitting on that hard drive since December 2019 without apparent action. And it makes Ray look really bad. But I don't really think all of that could have been overlooked by Trump. I think it's more likely that that information was being held for release at the perfect moment.
I agree with you, actually, and I've got another angle on that, which I'll share in a moment. How about you, Phil?
Well, when someone else had mentioned the same thing to me yesterday, that this was all a done deal several months ago, and that it was timed for public release only now, that it's already a done deal, behind the scenes, that actually made very plausible sense. But if that is the case, it meant maybe the FBI did more than we believe they did. That maybe some people in the FBI did their job as opposed to trying to cover it up, because of, as you know, a lot of people are saying Director Ray is a sleeper, dragging his feet, trying to cover up at all costs for the deep state elites. And I really don't know. There's other questions too about how it is that two different parties gave these hard drives to the FBI and the DOJ. I mean, supposedly they got it from, he left it at a computer store and he didn't claim it for 90 days. It becomes property of the shop. He looks into it and says, "Oh my, I better call the authorities." But then we saw the video of the 3 Chinese Communist Party dissidents who said that they delivered the hard drives to, made sure it got to President Trump, which means they already had copies. And I know that Steve Bannon had made mention of these guys, and they had made an effort to bring it to the White House, which means that not only were they being called by a repair shop, but also these 3 gentlemen who are dissidents now in the Communist Party wanted to get this information out. And that seems, I don't know, that doesn't add up to me. Also, who would drop off their laptop with that kind of information on it and then just not come and pick it up? Some have speculated that the Hunter, the son, is so angry with his father for what he's done to him over the years. He incriminated himself by leaving the laptop there just to ruin his dad's chances. I don't know if that, people have done crazier things, but there just seems right now to be so many unanswered questions that I'm wondering how much of this recent news is actually as it is being presented, because this could turn a lot of different ways. Lots of
Exactly.
twists and turns.
I think one thing that's certainly obvious to me on that, and you've kind of speculated on it a bit there, Phil, is that this was not a random event. It was not Hunter Biden or anybody who was working for him that took that computer in. It was all set up. And we're talking about last year, because they understood they would hold it till a certain time. Now, to me, I can fully accept that the CIA or some operatives, could have been 3 dissident Chinese blokes, I don't know, actually might have taken it in there but it was not Hunter Biden's laptop. But it did have the kind of information on it that was on his laptop. Remember how often we have heard it said they have everything. So I think that's it. They had everything. They put it on a lap drive. I hear Bannon said there was some kind of Biden Institute sticker on it or something that connected it with the Bidens. And then the cover story was that it was Hunter Biden or one of his cronies who took it in for repairs. But as you said, Phil, what is the likelihood of ever taking a laptop in for repairs when it has that kind of information on it? It just doesn't make any sense. But what makes sense to me is this was a setup for the White Hatters. The White Hatters did this, okay, for the purpose of releasing it at this very crucial time. And if you remember, 2016, Hillary got hit with some heavy-duty stuff about her private use of her letting out the emails, all that on the private channel she had. And that really hit her hard and hit her campaign hard. And here we have a similar thing just a couple weeks before the actual election again.
Yes, and what's going to happen about it? Why hasn't Hunter Biden been arrested? Why hasn't something happened? Why hasn't something happened to Hillary? You know, this is going on and on and on and on. And I'm sitting here in Australia thinking, are Americans just full of hot air? Do they just talk and not do anything? What's going on?
That's a really good question, actually, Callista. How about you guys? You got any thoughts? I certainly do, but
Well, I think they have everything organized, and I think that proper actions will be taken at the most appropriate time. I do think they know what they're doing.
And Phil?
Yeah, I would agree. What I had been told during this whole run of wait, and hurry up and wait some more was that certain figures, political figures that are so high up and so beloved by the left being arrested by someone who many leftists just hate could cause more problems than benefits. This was the reason behind a lot of ankle monitors that you saw on celebrities and people like McCain and Huma Abedin and others, was that they still had to be seen in public as if everything was honky-dory. But if all these people were, traditionally arrested and charged as you come running up to an election year, it might be that the White Hats had a lot of advanced information that has not been made public yet. And the prudent thing to do, especially when you realize you're at war, is to make the appearance that all is normal. And also, you don't want to have the voters in an election year turn against you because it looks like you're an angry orange man who just wants to arrest anyone who says something bad about you. But I agree with Bill that there is a plan underway, and it seems to be about ready to come to fruition. And I think there'll be some booms tomorrow. I think Callista will talk about that. And also, I think you're going to see a lot of the arrests happening after the election when Trump doesn't have to worry about a re-election again. And they've used up all their ammo, so it'll be safe to start opening those sealed indictments and taking action. So I agree with
right.
that.
Well, I do also agree to the degree of it being, as I see it, all part of a much bigger plan that they've been meticulously playing for the last 4 years. And one thing I would also note as an observer from another country, that it seems to me that America and Americans often need some kind of real big kick-ass event very close to the time of an election, because they seem to forget what happened like 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago when Mueller had to say, no, there's no Russian collusion. And yet they introduce it over and over again, and many Americans still believe there was some kind of Russian what's the word there? I just was going to use. Anyway, point is that I think that they definitely left it. How often do we hear of Trump playing his Trump cards at this time so that they could hit hard at a time where just before the election, indeed, heck, 50 million have already voted from what I understand, and advanced polling and all that. And it's like, bang, in your face, going to the polling station. And it's going to have a profound effect on the people that, for some reason, seem to have incredibly short memories to the events that have been underway for 4 years now. So that's what I think, is that it is arranged. It is being played out exactly as it needs to. Timing is everything. Optics is everything. And bang, bang, bang. Here you go. So that's my thought on it. How about you, Callista? I know you're kind of playing devil's advocate on this one, but you did raise a very important point, I think.
I'm good at playing devil's advocate. There's a couple of things actually that I want to say. First of all, we know there's something coming out tomorrow. Q put out a post, 2121 EST, October 21st, which would have been yesterday late your time in America, and post number 4924, booms en route tomorrow. This is not a drill, Q. And then there was a whole lot of pictures of various people like Gina Haspel, Christopher Wray, David Bowditch, and somebody called Bishop, I don't know anything about. Also a mention of someone called Tyson and someone called Kohler. So there's something going on there. Also, I just happened to come across this lady called Janine on YouTube. She's a tarot reader. And she does some interesting tarot readings, and she's actually done one about the election. And the Trump team are coming up on top, of course, with that, according to her. And she's also seeing that there's a lot that's going to be brought out from behind the shadows when Trump gets re-elected. And it's going to be for the benefit of mankind, or humankind, I should say, to be politically correct. And also, she said whenever she does readings concerning Trump, there's a lot of the feminine energy coming in there, and she thinks that he's actually making it possible for the divine feminine to really blossom. And she reckons in another 20 years, we're going to see, in the next 20 years, we're going to see this happening in a very tangible way. So I found that really interesting. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Interesting. Had you gotten a lot of the Tower cards and the Devil and all those dark ones? I bet they were right there in her reading.
Well, it was dependent on who she was reading about. I mean, there was the Biden camp had certain readings as well as the Trump camp, and it was very interesting to see that.
Right.
I can't remember exactly all the cards and everything, but she uses.
No.
I think it's a seven card spread.
Oh, okay.
Quite interesting. But anyway, that's just something that I thought was interesting.
Either way, these hard drives are in the hands of the Department of Justice, the what's the other group? FBI. And and we're 2 weeks out from an election. This should be game over for Joseph Biden. I mean, how can you walk out in a couple days for a debate knowing that, and just for fun, the last 2 days I've been watching only mainstream media news channels because I want to see how they're going to report it. And guess what? There is not a single report
Thank you.
anywhere on it's like it didn't happen. They don't even report it. And of course, they're massively censoring anybody who puts it out there. So some are speculating that the reason he can go forward with this debate on Thursday is because the moderator will just cut Trump's mic, because Trump's going to go for it. He'd be crazy not to. And he could just come unglued on Joe Biden, and I don't know how he would talk his way out of it. This seems to be a death knell for him. I don't know how he can go out on that stage and instead of just resign, and start calling a lawyer. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm going to jump in real quick because I get to watch a lot of the fake news too. And we're always with the view that it's fake news and I watch it from 180 degrees opposite. But what intrigues me also isn't simply about not mentioning any of this stuff against Biden, but how they keep emphasizing how he's double figures ahead of Trump, and that there's such support at his rallies. Rallies where 8 people show up, and they don't tell you that. They never show the crowd. They just infer it's big numbers, which it's not. So there's that other part of the whole spin doctoring, is that they also outright are lying to the people in terms of the polling and all of that stuff, which again may add to this veneer of credibility that the Democrats seem to be trying to present, that Donald Trump is really a character that's so evil and dark and bad and everything, but they're so good and he's so nice. It's Uncle Joe after all, and it's just wearing thin, I think. But even on the Canadian channels, and unfortunately they're very biased towards Biden and the Democrats, I watch it and it's like, oh God, okay, there you go. They're still supporting him. The media, even in Canada, and not so much maybe in Australia, because you got Sky News down there, and I got some good stuff off them in the last few days. They haven't been banned yet. So
Sky News is good, yeah. Yep.
How about you, Bill?
Yep.
I'm thinking that this debate coming up tomorrow night may be really, really, really interesting. Keeping in mind, in addition to what's already come out on this hard drive, is Q's post of about 3 hours ago, which Callista mentioned, where it says booms en route tomorrow, and that's booms plural. And then it goes on to say, this is not a drill. And also, alluding to what Callista was saying, America needs a new Pearl Harbor. And that part of Q's post is a quote from Pearl Harbor where they said, air raid Pearl Harbor, this is not a drill. Q's post says, this is not a drill. So I'm going to watch that debate for sure tomorrow.
If it happens.
You and me and the whole nation. I bet it'll be.
If it happens.
If it happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay, there's the thought.
You see, there's that thought, and also now Kamala Harris, apparently she was exposed to some people who had that unmentionable influenza, and so she's not going to be on any public anywhere for the next couple of weeks, which is very convenient. And so I'm just wondering if they're going to pull the same thing for Joe.
Why not? It would be a good excuse to get him off and not even have him show up at all if he suddenly.
And then again, there is some thought I saw on the in the social media sphere today that Trump himself may say no.
I haven't.
But I don't know. I don't know.
But
I know that the media are really, really they're really scared and fearful of Q. because they're really trying to take Q down, and Q is proving that the Q team have been giving us the truth right from the very beginning, and the media have been feeding lies, and more people are going over to the Trump camp and the Q camp because of that. They're not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very interesting too.
Well, added to that, wasn't this, Facebook and Twitter supposed to go in front of the Senate today?
I don't know.
Anybody hear anything about that? I didn't. I've been busy.
I'm not sure that was today. It's supposed to be upcoming.
Is it upcoming? Okay.
Well, I don't know for sure, but I don't think it's happened yet.
Okay. And I'm assuming, Phil, you didn't get anything on that either.
Regarding the
Facebook, Twitter, going in front of the Senate. I think Lindsey Graham. No,
I didn't see any of that. I did have a question though, that if Joe Biden decides to drop out, does that mean that the Democratic National Committee has to go into committee again and nominate or name a new ticket, or does the vice president nominee then become the presidential candidate, and then she has to name a vice president running mate? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, there's
can I just cut in there, because I saw actually that very question was addressed by this lady Janine with her tarot cards, and she said the Biden camp is in total disarray, but they're going to bring in a strong, influential female figure. Now, I wonder who that could be.
Big Mike.
Big Mike or Hillary?
Big Mike or Hillary, exactly. And people like Dave have been saying for ages that the switcheroo is going to come, and that's when you might see Michael or Hillary Buns, being parachuted in, because they can't actually promote Camilla to that position because she's not a natural American citizen, or whatever the term they use. She was born in, if I'm not mistaken, Montreal, Canada, and her parents were not American citizens. They went to America afterwards, and I think they are now American citizens. I think her father is Jamaican and her mother is Indian, and certainly Kamala was raised in America, but not by natural American parents. And she herself, as I understand it, and I might be wrong on this, was born in Montreal, in Canada, Quebec even. And so she is not entitled to become the president. We already had that happen with the 43rd president, who supposedly was born in Hawaii, but there seems to be all kind of contradictory information on that, and we know what they did with that.
44.
Was he the 44th? Oh, of course, Trump's 45th, isn't he? Anyway, the point being that Kamala Harris cannot become the vice president. She might be able to be the vice president, but not the president. So someone else has to be parachuted into that position. And we are conjecturing, are we not? But if they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it real soon. Maybe they'll do it after Joe is arrested.
I don't know. I mean, how's that going to look? What do you reckon, Bill?
Oh, well, that would also bring up the invalidation of all the votes already cast, voted for Biden, and then Biden's not a candidate.
This is it. Well, what happens to those votes then?
I don't know.
Exactly. You absolutely are striking a really important point, Bill. What about those who have already voted for Biden? If he's dropped out, can they just transfer their vote to Hillary if she gets in, Michael if he gets in?
Well, all of this kind of stuff will have to go before the Supreme Court, because there are no rules for it.
That's right.
Well, let's hope that Amy Coney Barrett is accepted into the Supreme Court before the election. Hey.
Yeah, nobody's heard anything recently on that one?
No, but I think it's a given.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is a very important point again, Bill, because if I was someone and I voted for Biden because he was the candidate and I couldn't stand Hillary and they suddenly transferred all the votes for Biden to her, I'd be very upset. I would say, wait a minute, he's not the man I voted for, or she's not the man I voted for. You know? It's, wow.
Well,
That's
it could be that the vote would be overwhelming for Trump anyway, and none of that would matter.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it will, because there seems to be so much support for him. I mean, Phil, you were mentioning the support that you saw in California just in the last few days for Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of people now actually beginning to believe that California could go red, as they say. In other words, the majority actually voting for President Trump over any Democratic rival, and for the first time in a long time. And when you see the kind of turnout that spontaneously occurred when President Trump came nearby for a fundraiser, you begin to think that that might be, that might be the case. And I've also seen a lot of interviews lately with people who aren't supposedly the typical Trump supporter. And this would include a lot of immigrants, a lot of African Americans that are supposed to be the arch enemy of President Trump, saying, oh, no, 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 no. We've done very well under President Trump. And so I think as you see more and more people like this starting to express their their liking for President Trump, more people who are on the fence are going to go, maybe this guy's not such a bad choice relative to Joe Biden and his son, and all the dirt that I'm sure is going to come out on Kamala Harris, also a California politician. So I think there's a very good chance, and I always have thought that there's been more conservative views in California than people realize. We get stereotyped as being, a liberal mecca, but that's really only in the big cities. It's just as conservative inland as anywhere else in the middle of America. So I think it's actually a possibility for California.
Mm.
Yeah, and I notice on social media that a lot of celebrities in Hollywood are advocating that people vote for Trump. More and more.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I've not heard that.
Kelsey Grammer and I can't remember a lot of them, but yeah, I saw quite a lot of them today on Parler. Somebody had put something out about it. Sorry, I can't remember the name.
Frazier is going for Trump? Kelsey Graham? That's interesting.
Kelsey Grammer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a new thought for you. If the majority of the people of California should vote for Trump, what does that do to affect the supposed later secession of the state of California?
It's not going to happen, is it?
Right. Or they will just bulldoze it through and just say, well, the governor wants it this way. Forget the people.
Yeah, that won't last long.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't. But another thing I've noticed too that could help sway people in California is just this past weekend, Trump went West Coast. He went and did a rally in Carson City, came and did a fundraiser in Newport Beach, went to Prescott, Arizona and did a rally. And then the same day he went to Tucson, Arizona and did a rally. The next day he flew to Pennsylvania and did a rally, and he did another rally, I think today, in one of the Carolinas. Now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rallies and a fundraiser that the people heard about and lined the streets, even though he didn't make a public appearance, in just 2 days. Now, what has what has Biden done? When's the last time? Has he even had 5 rallies this whole entire? Here you have a presidential candidate who is not taking his. He's working his butt off towards the late end of a long campaign, and he's not letting up. Whereas Biden is just, you don't see him. And I think it's going to show a lot of Americans that the president really is working his tail off for people and campaigning like his life depended on it. Whereas Biden won't even meet with reporters. He gets out of his limo and he just walks away from cameras because he doesn't want to take questions regarding the whole Hunter Biden hard drives. So he's in a real pickle. And like you said, the campaign's in disarray. But I think that's a very easy contrast for undecided voters to see the difference in style between the two.
Well, I think President Trump is a really good advertisement for Regeneron.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want some.
Yeah. Well, there are some questions about it, but the point isn't just about Regeneron. It's the fact that there's several therapeutics, not to forget hydroxychloroquine, which has been mentioned.
No, actually, I was making a joke there, Will.
No, thank you for explaining. But no, all kidding aside, the whole point of the matter is that things are starting to come apart for Biden and crew, and things are starting to come together, I think, for Donald Trump and crew. I mean, Phil, didn't you recently go to a rally or something? I heard something about that. I wasn't on at that moment, but anyway.
Yeah, I went to the Trump rally in Prescott, Arizona on, what day was that? Monday, 2 days ago.
Right. How was that?
It was interesting. It's one thing to see it on the video, on the news, on your computer. It's another to actually be present. And I'm sure it's different. The U.S. is a very big country, and there's different aspects, different people in different parts of the country. And so this was Arizona locals for the most part showing up. And there was a cross section of people there. They were very excited that he had come there, but it was a lot of fun. It was a very long day. There was a lot of enthusiasm, however, a lot of excitement. I was telling you guys earlier, I was at this rally. Even though it started at 12, we were in line at 6 a.m. and we thought we'd be the first in line. There was several hundred people there ahead of us, waiting to board these charter buses that would take you into the airport, the regional airport nearby. So you could, that's how they did it. They bust you in, probably for security reasons, but a lot of excitement, a lot of people making instant friends that were there. Of course, everyone had their usual Trump attire. They didn't allow any kind of insignias or logos or messages unless it was, Trump 2020 or something similar. So no Q, no other kinds of T-shirts with messages on it. You couldn't come in with bags or food. It was just basically your wallet, your cell phone, your keys. Ladies could bring in purses, and that was about it. And it was very dramatic, though, seeing the helicopters come in advance of President Trump arriving. He walked right off of the what they call Marine One, the helicopter. He took the podium almost immediately. That's when they cued the usual music, and he walked up and down the stage applauding, the crowd. His speech was fairly typical of all the others that have happened recently, but he ventured off teleprompter quite a bit to make reference to whatever current events were going on, which of course included the Hunter Biden situation, and he was making some veiled comments there that you can see. We were towards the back, and the sound system didn't deliver that well back that far away, but it was the best place we could see with so many people to actually see the president at the podium as opposed to closer up. Um, so it was an interesting thing. We went because it's history. I mean, we're watching history. We've talked about it before. Everyone on Earth right now has got a front row seat, but then sometimes there's front row center seats to history, and I got to see, the president of the United States for the first time in my life and attend a rally, which, looking back in history, I'm sure they're going to look at Trump rallies in the 2020 campaign as being one of those defining icons of how he ran his campaign. And I could say I was at one. So I'm glad I went. It was a very long day, though.
I bet, I bet it was electrical, the energy there and the atmosphere there.
There was a lot of tears, it's very moving for a lot of people to see military aircraft land,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very loud. Um, there were 3 Osprey helicopters, which are very strange-looking helicopters that landed in advance of Marine One, and there were 2 Marine Ones. You didn't know which one held the president, but they were identical. And then they landed next, and there was a lot of people moved to tears at the sight of that. Plus, they had some very mood evoking music. It's a typical music track that you see at a Trump rally. Some Elton John, Queen, um, Ave Maria, things that.
YMCA.
Yeah, Macho Man, all of that. So uh, it was quite a scene, and you get caught up in that group energy, because when you get, as you know, a group of like-minded people together with a singular purpose, I mean, there's a lot of synergy in that, and it's very obvious to me that right now, white hatters, pro-Trumpers, this sort of thing, we have the momentum, and people are beginning to excitedly visualize victory and what that might mean for the future. And as you know, where attention goes, energy follows. And we've talked many times before on the chat how our collective will can create new possibilities and new realities, because that's where we are putting our energy, and that's what we are holding to be so. And it was very evident there at the rally that there's an optimism that the average American has not felt about their own country for a very, very long time. And I think part of the success to that is Trump keeps it simple. And just like media, he repeats it over and over and over and over again until it sinks in. And that's probably the only competition the average American has against the TV set, which is drums out the same BS. And so I think we really are in a unprecedented time of people actually feeling good about their country again. And it's going to be very interesting these next 2 weeks and the weeks after. But I think you're going to be looking at a really, really dramatic election, in terms of the psyche of the people.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one, Phil. And as Trump himself says, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, it's tantalizing. What does that mean? I bet that tarot reader that you were talking about, Callista, may have had some comments about what that might be. Did the reader talk about any breakthroughs or revelations or disclosures?
No, she said that there was a lot hidden that would be revealed after the election. But yeah, it's pretty much what the Q team have been telling us for a long time, that the best is yet to come. And we know that, a lot of what is put out is sort of disinformation, or some of it is, and all that sort of thing. So it's like they say, in the art of war, you never tell the enemy what your plans are, do you? And that makes sense.
And yeah. It is interesting that a couple of weeks ago, or less than, when Cosmic Awareness put out its message, I mean, it kind of said the energies are all kind of all over the place, and we just have to stay focused on what's coming. But at the same time, I do know that the feeling behind it all is of this impending event that is going to change everything. But we're going to have to go through the turbulence and the upheaval of like in the tarot reading when you get the lightning struck tower, for example. Everything collapsing, but the smart thing is get out of the tower before it collapses, let it collapse, and then rebuild. So we may see a lot of turbulence and upheaval still over the next 2 weeks. And yet I think there's a result ahead that is already foreknown, that they already have a sense and feeling of it. And who knows what with our esoteric information of alien not intervention, but cooperation, especially with some of the technology of looking glass technology and future stuff coming. I think certain ones have an idea of what the hell is coming, and that's another reason why they're playing it out so meticulously and so precisely. And even though it might be annoying, it seems nothing is happening. Oh boy, I think we can say a lot definitely is happening.
Yeah. And what surprised me the most, we were talking about the Hunter hard drives. For the past few months, Bill has been saying they're going to disclose the child stuff before the election. I really didn't believe it was going to happen at all, at least not like this. And here we are, 14 days out or less. I don't know how many days till the election. You have this disclosure, that's hitting the airwaves everywhere. That is
Steve Bannon.
Yes.
Sorry.
No,
what
yeah.
Steve
That
Bannon
Steve,
said on the Australian Sky News report with this woman. I mean, what was it? 20,000 photos were on that or something? And he said there's some very disturbing photos on it. Because didn't he have something to do with getting it delivered to him? And he passed it on to Rudy Giuliani?
I think so.
And they've been at it. And so there might be some shocking photos come out. I know they've released 3 or 4. A video even? Wow.
There's many videos, and Giuliani said he's only gone through half of the hard drive, and he delivered it to the state police, the Delaware State Police, to see if they would have the gumption to actually do something about it. Because when you're law enforcement and you're handed evidence of a crime, don't the police go out and arrest the perpetrator? But then again, Joe Biden is Mr. Delaware, so does he have the police in his pocket, and it's a political suicide for the state police to arrest Joe Biden? It's going to be very interesting to see what the Delaware State Police does, but they now have the hard drives.
A couple of days ago, I saw on social media somewhere about the fact that one of the children involved in some of the videos was only 14. And if that wasn't bad enough, apparently she's a relative.
Oh, really?
Mm.
I heard something about 14-year-old Chinese girls, but didn't hear anything about relative. Right.
Well, he allowed himself to be filmed. And the other thing I wanted to point out was that if this does go more public, where they actually describe the contents on the news, whether it's through alternative media or later in a court, this is going to make the Chinese Communist Party, not the Chinese people, but the Chinese Communist Party government, look extremely bad. Because what kind of government would sit there and say, okay, we want to make sure your dad and you don't renege on our agreement, so we're going to ask you to participate in some vile acts, and we're going to film it so that we have it as blackmail, and he just willingly participates. But I mean, at an official level, what kind of government would sit there and allow small children to be tortured on film for the gratification of Hunter, and also to satisfy the Chinese Communist Party government that they've got blackmailable material on them? this is going to make, the credibility of the Chinese Communist government just go down the tubes. I think, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name, Xi Jinping, that could take him out. That could end his leadership.
It
Well,
could.
blackmail is blackmail is the usual tool of the deep state. It's not just China. Look at America. Look at Canada. Look at Australia. Look everywhere.
Yes, but how many of those countries set up a bunch of children to be filmed while they're being violated with foreign objects?
It's happened in America, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has.
It's happened everywhere. And this is what has to be cleaned up on this planet. Everything has to be cleaned up. And someone was talking to me the other day, and they said to me, why are people putting their lives on hold until after the 3rd of November? It's ridiculous. And this is what we've all got to look at. It's not just about politics this time. It's not just about what's going on with Hunter Biden. It's about what is going on with you. And I keep coming back to this. I know it's like a broken record. I just keep coming back to it. But it's all about your own development through this time as well. And, life goes on. And so what sort of a life do you want? And why are you putting it on hold? Why not just start doing it now? That's just my thoughts.
And perhaps that's exactly what is happening. We are doing it now because it's being forced upon us now. We have each of us a different way of responding and looking at it, and maybe it will be so that a lot of people won't want to look at it. But for those of us who are seeking that spiritual understanding of a greater truth of our being and of humankind and all of it, then these are the most pressing of times, the most dangerous of times, the most amazing of times, because it can go both ways. It can go up or down. And it really will depend on each of us as we navigate these very tricky waters at this time, which way we want to go with it. And we just have to hold that this, despite what is being shown on our mainstream fake news media, is not the truth. And the truth is something that's to be found within you. And this whole procedure then of moving towards the truth takes action. You have to take actions. And those actions may be subtle. They may be very monumental. But it's all up to each of us to move ourselves forward, to look at what's happening with absolute fascination, but not to get fooled by it. This is, to me, an epic moment in human history. And we are moving it, and it's being moved for us. And it's not just us alone that's involved in this. And I don't mean it's also the ETs, because it certainly probably is. Certainly probably. Well, there you go. Anyway, it's also spirit itself. It's also the higher dimensional players in this. And they have a view on this of where they want it to go also. So here we are, folks, 2 weeks before not only perhaps the most historical election of a president ever, but a true turning point of humanity as we move back towards the light.
What do you say, Bill?
I think the information about the children that has come out so far is very mild. I think it will become more gross, more disgusting as we go along. But I don't think the worst of it will come out until after November 3rd. And it's very possible that the very worst of it will never become public. It's just too much to handle.
Phil?
I would agree. Yeah, that's what I've been told. It's just too many unsettling revelations at once can be a bit damaging. And as much as people think they're prepared because they've been researching this for a long time, like a lot of us. It doesn't quite prepare you when it actually comes out through official channels, and they actually tell you to what extent this kind of thing has been going on. It's, like Q has said, it's bigger than you can possibly imagine. And I know I get flack for that when I say this kind of has to be done in a delicate way for the psyche of people, but otherwise you're left with a traumatized nation that can't go to work in the morning. And this is what I think. That's why I would agree with Bill that the worst of it's probably never going to be made known.
Well, I don't think they have to bring out the most horrible of stuff, because it might create, as you just said, a psychic schism, psychotic breakdown, and people go into disassociation then. And it could work out against the Trump people because they brought it out, and, how dare you? I don't know. I don't think they're going to bring it out to the highest degree, but hey, all they have to bring out is a few milder photos of Hunter Biden doing this, and Joe Biden being fully aware. And this is in itself will be more than enough to shock the American people. Forget about the really deep, dirty stuff. Even this milder stuff will be enough to shock the American people. I think those who are not absolute dyed-in-the-wool forever and ever Democrats,
Don't you think it's about time that we all
But-
learnt the truth? Don't you think it's about
I-
time?
Oh yeah.
I agree. And
Well,
I think the truth is going
they say, you should know the truth, and the truth should set you free. If we want to be free, we have to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, however horrible it is.
That's
Well,
absolutely so.
you can do
But-
that, but you don't have to broadcast video of snuff films and live torture. You can reveal that in the printed word and let the word picture sink in the people who read it, and create just as much effect without having to broadcast something that terrible.
And I do think that it is a matter of timing and optics, and the necessary optics needed now will be brought down that will have the desired effect. But it will move forward, because I do not think this is going to stop. I think we are moving into that whole new plane of existence where we must have the truth, because we have been waylaid too far, too long, too deeply through the history of the planet. The truth must come out, and it will come out. It's just a matter of a little bit at a time right now, because when that whole lid is blown off, you're never going to be able to cap it again.
Well, I don't think you're going to be able to
comes
cap
out.
it anyway, because so many people are doing so much research, and it's all coming out everywhere, that there's going to be no stopping the coming out of it all.
But isn't that what's so exciting? That
Mm,
this is a movement they cannot stop, even if they're trying to.
that's right. It can't be stopped. It's like the Q movement. It can't be stopped. It's great.
Agree on that one.
Well, in the greater picture, it's not just a political movement; it's a shift of consciousness, and there is no stopping that.
Yes, total
Yeah,
agreement on that one, Bill.
Mm, mm,
So,
It's a
well,
different
we
time
are-
of great awakening.
yeah.
Sorry, what was that about the Great Awakening?
I was just going to say it's a different kind of great awakening. Some people are going to wake up spiritually. Others kind of get rudely woken up by seeing the truth of their external world, that it was all a lie or an illusion or delusion to begin with. And that also is a wake-up call that gets them looking further within for some kind of stability about how do you navigate something when all your precious beliefs and assumptions about the world you called your reality get turned upside down. That's a sea change right there globally, because anything that gets revealed here in the U.S. as a regards of all this is instantly going to go worldwide. as well. People are going to start to think, well, what's my government up to? What's going on underneath the ground in my country? Because it's going to come out about all these connecting, collaboration between the elite among themselves through different countries, and it's going to spur demands for investigations among the populations of the other countries as well. So we're going to be looking at, little awakenings in all the other countries going forward after the election as these things start to come out, and we realize, wow, we were all being duped. It's not just an American problem, it's a global problem, it's a human problem, and we can rally together and drop our petty differences and actually unify around saving, the most precious innocent investment that we have that keeps humanity going, which is the children. And this is, again, we've talked about it before, how the world could finally be united, because it's the one thing they all have in common, the innocence of having been a child.
Children.
Yeah.
That's a good point too, Phil.
Well,
But
not everybody in other countries around the world is waiting on the U.S. We have seen for some time Trump and Q demonstrations in England and France and Germany. But just very recently, I've become aware of similar demonstrations in Romania and Haiti. It's like everywhere.
It's great.
Canada too.
Yeah,
Canada too.
When you say demonstrations, are they protesting Q, or are these pro Q or pro Trump demonstrations?
Well, I've seen Q as a part of it in England and Germany, maybe some other places. The most recent ones in Romania and Haiti were just mentioned as being Trump demonstrations.
So you would call that pro-Trump, I would think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. There was a lot of film about a month ago of David Icke speaking at Trafalgar Square, and he's not a very big pro-Q person at all, or Trump for that matter. I'm just very curious to see, as this all plays out in the next couple weeks, couple months, when the big picture all starts to come together. Because remember, he hasn't pulled out Julian Assange yet. He hasn't pulled out the Benghazi. All the emails related to Benghazi from Hillary Clinton are in,
the private emails.
Exactly. They've got it all, like Callista said earlier. So there are so many devastating booms that can come out, one after another. There'll be so many crises that the Democratic Party won't know what fire to put out first.
So do you think these booms are going to come out before or after the debate?
Well, tomorrow means tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the debate's probably in the evening, unless the booms are coming out during the debate. Wouldn't that be nice? Live TV around the world. Can you imagine? Oh.
Yeah. Could be one of the biggest things going with this explodes on air live to the nation, and it just goes kaboom on Trump, on Biden's head. Like kaboom right in his face. What are you going to say, Joey boy? How are you going to justify your lies and your cheating and your dishonesty?
I hope.
We'll just have to watch and see tomorrow night.
I'll be watching.
And holding that, as Callista did say also, that there might not be a debate. It really is some very erratic energies, and I could see Biden and Biden's crew trying to pull him out and shut it down before absolute disaster happens. They got enough to try to handle it right now. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds like, it's a type of climate where anything could happen. And so, we won't know until...
Isn't Mercury retrograde right now?
Yeah, I think it goes direct again soon.
Third.
I'm being very reticent about any astrological things because I think I'm wrong in a lot of things that I've been saying. So I'm not saying anything very much, but I do know it's retrograde at the moment. Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, we've been going for over an hour, so do you reckon it's time to sort of wind things up a bit?
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Canada narrowly avoided a snap election today. Trudeau is being hounded on his family being paid $300,000 each, mother, wife, brother, to a company or to a charity called the We Foundation, which has now kind of been pulled and everything. And they wanted to try to vote him down, and luckily he had the New Democrats support him. But why I'm even mentioning this is because what you were saying, Phil, about other nations are being affected. Canadians are saying what's happening in America is affecting us in Canada, and we need to start looking at maybe some of the corrupt ones here, including the Canadian Prime Minister. So I do think that things are happening worldwide. I don't know how things are in Australia right now, but I know that Victoria State, I mean, there's all kinds of controversy about the governor there, isn't there, Callista?
Yeah, apparently it doesn't affect me, so I'm not really that concerned about it. I'm a bit sort of laissez-faire about that, but no, things are working out there the way they should be, in my opinion. There's a lot of things that have been going on under the surface of Victoria that need to be cleaned out, and that's fine. I think that's fine.
Exactly.
I mean, there's got to be some sort of a price to be paid somewhere along the line, and if you just happen to be in Melbourne at that particular time, or happen to be in Victoria, well, that's the way it goes. I know people that have seen the writing on the wall ages ago and said, right, I'm out of here. So, it's all about choices and about how you decide you want your life to be, and how you manage to, negotiate that.
Right. So we're all going to negotiate it as best as we can, and looking at the truth. And also the last point I would like to make tonight is that we've got to remember there are going to be a lot of fractured people. And so people like ourselves who have had some insight into this and understand are going to be very important in helping many get through what could be some very dark, turbulent times for many. Shift happens. We know it. We're seeing it. It's like the tarot reader there, Callista, who said, you got to go through the destruction before you can build anew. You got to see the tower collapse before you build a new tower. So we are both in the most interesting of times and the most crazy and ridiculous of times. The opportunities are there, but we still have to make the efforts, and we've got to be willing to hold out our hands to those who might need a bit of guidance and assistance in days, weeks, months to come. Anyway, that's my last thought on it. I'm going to turn it over to you guys to put in your last thoughts.
Well, that's very true, what you said. But when you compare it to the other potential, which really is no longer a potential, but the other potential of the plans of the cabal, then that all looks really good to me.
Good. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah,
Bill?
I would just encourage everyone to use their creative potential to envision the highest victory in the highest and best good for the whole planet. And like Callista said, or what Will just said, there's going to be some people that really are going to get shook up from coming revelations, whether it's their political heroes or aren't the good guys that they thought, or something more dark and sinister. It's really not the time to gloat and say, I told you so, and rub their face in it. It's a time when you have to kind of let people be, give them the compassion to realize that they just took a massive red pill, and it takes time to adjust. It's not the time to make them feel bad and shitty, because they're going to be reeling. And then you approach them, or let them approach you, saying, okay, fill me in. I don't understand the world now. And that's where a lot of people who are listening to this, chat, or ourselves, or any of the other light workers out there that know about these kinds of things can really help their neighbors, their angry relatives that threw them out a long time ago. And then it's one candle lights another, and as people get woken up, you start a healing process. And I think that will accelerate once media gets cleaned up and you actually start hearing truth, actual truth, and not mockingbird talking points. Just wanted to throw that in there as a closing thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
thanks,
point.
Phil. That's great. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And how about you, Twister? You feel done?
No, I'm done.
Okay, then. Then I would suggest we're done for tonight and for today. And we got 2 more weeks. We'll do it certainly next week again. And good luck, guys. Hang in there. Keep your chins high and your shoulders back, and know we're marching on that very wonderful path of spirit that is taking us to a brighter future.
Hear, hear.
Aho.
Aho.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right,
keep
you
your powder
guys.
dry. Okay.
Good talking to
Keep your
y'all.
powder dry. Yes, absolutely. Okay, guys.
Namaste
next
to all.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.